You make hundreds of decisions every day. What to eat, who to trust, what to believe, where to invest your energy, money, or love. But what if many of those decisions were based not on logic, but on illusions your brain creates? In Thinking, Fast and Slow, Nobel Prize winner Daniel Kahneman reveals a powerful truth. Your mind runs on two systems. One is fast and instinctive. The other is slow and thoughtful. Most of the time, your fast mind runs the show. It's efficient, but it's not always right. Understanding how these two systems work, and when to slow down, is the key to better thinking, fewer regrets, and smarter decisions. Chapter 1. Two Systems. Let's start with the two main characters in your mind. One is quick and automatic. It reacts instantly, like when you see a snake and jump back before you've even thought about it. That's your fast system. The second one is slower, quieter. It does the deep thinking, like when you solve a math problem or try to understand why someone's upset. You need both. The fast one keeps you safe and gets you through daily life. The slow one helps you make good choices. The lesson here is simple. When something feels obvious or your answer comes too fast, it's worth slowing down. That doesn't mean second-guessing everything. It means learning to pause, especially when the decision matters. Slowing down even for a moment can stop you from saying something you'll regret or making a mistake that costs you. Lesson: when a decision matters, don't just trust your first thought. Give your slow mind time to speak. And when things feel obvious, ask yourself, did I really think this through, or did it just feel right? Chapter 2. The Effort of Thinking. Thinking deeply takes energy. Your slow brain doesn't like to work hard. It gets tired easily and avoids effort when it can. That's why your brain saves energy by letting the fast system take over most of the time. That's when mistakes happen. But deep thinking takes real effort, and it's worth it. When you're tired or distracted, you make worse choices because you're letting the quick, easy part of your brain run everything. Your brain wants to conserve effort, but saving energy isn't always smart. When you're not fully present, you're more likely to miss details, fall for easy answers, or act on emotion. Lesson: important thinking needs focus. Give your brain space to work when it counts. So before you decide, ask yourself, am I really focused right now, or am I just running on autopilot? Chapter 3. The Power of Easy. When something feels easy to believe, your brain stops questioning it. Your brain trusts it and you just go with the flow. But going with the flow isn't always smart, it's just comfortable. Ease feels good, but truth isn't always easy. Just because something goes down smooth doesn't mean it's right. That's why you might believe a catchy phrase or trust a smooth speaker without checking the facts. If something feels too smooth or too obvious, take a second look. Truth isn't always easy. Sometimes it's uncomfortable. But thinking clearly means being okay with that discomfort instead of avoiding it. Lesson: comfort isn't proof. If something feels too easy to believe, take a closer look and ask yourself, do I believe this because it makes sense, or just because it's easy to swallow? Chapter 4. Anchoring. The first number sticks. Anchoring is what happens when your brain grabs onto the first number it hears, even if that number doesn't matter. If someone says, this phone usually costs $1,000, but today it's $500, your brain sees a deal, even if the phone was never worth $1,000 in the first place. That first number sets the tone, and your thinking gets stuck around it. This doesn't just happen with prices. It happens with time, weight, salary, even opinions. Once a starting point is in your mind, everything you think after is pulled toward it. Lesson: first numbers don't just start the conversation, they shape how your mind frames reality. Chapter 5. Loss Aversion. Losing something feels worse than gaining the same thing feels good. If you find $50, it's nice. But if you lose $50, it feels terrible. That's how your brain works. It fears loss more than it loves reward. Because of that fear, we often play it too safe. We stay in jobs we don't like, hold on to things we don't use, or avoid taking chances that could help us grow, all because we don't want to lose. But sometimes, not doing something is the bigger loss. If you always protect yourself from risk, you might never find out what you're really capable of. Don't let the fear of losing stop you from trying. The pain of loss may be loud, but it's not always worth obeying. Lesson: loss can feel larger than life, but avoiding all risk might be the greatest loss of all. Chapter 6. The Remembering Self. You live your life one moment at a time, but your decisions are shaped by how you remember those moments, not how they actually felt. You might have a great vacation with one bad ending. The remembering self might say the whole trip was terrible, even if the other days were perfect. Or you might push through a tough job and look back proudly, even though it was hard in the moment. Your memory tells the story, and that story decides what you do next. The remembering self makes most of your decisions going forward. That's why people do things for the story, not always for the experience. But when you only chase good stories, you forget to enjoy the moment you're in. Lesson: don't just live for the story you'll tell later, live for how it feels while it's happening. Your real life happens now, not just in your memory later. Chapter 7. Availability Bias. Your mind mistakes what's most vivid for what's most true. A recent news story, a friend's dramatic tale, or a shocking headline can override logic in seconds. If you just heard about a plane crash, flying suddenly feels risky. If you saw a robbery on TV, your neighborhood starts to feel unsafe, even if nothing's changed. The problem isn't memory. It's how your brain treats the things that come to mind quickly. Emotion-heavy memories jump the line and take over the facts. Lesson: don't trust something just because it's easy to remember. What sticks in your mind isn't always what reflects reality. Ask yourself, is this true, or just unforgettable? Chapter 8. Representativeness. You often guess a person's role based on how much they match a stereotype. If someone is quiet and analytical, you assume they're a scientist. If someone's confident and loud, you think leader or entrepreneur. But your brain rarely stops to ask, how common is that role in real life? This is the trap of representativeness. It tricks you into ignoring actual odds. And it applies to more than people. It affects how you evaluate ideas, risks, and even success. The more a situation looks right, the more you trust it, even if the numbers tell a different story. Lesson: what looks typical might not be true. Slow down and ask, how likely is this, really? Chapter 9. The Planning Fallacy. You've probably promised to finish something in just a few days, and watched it drag on for weeks. That's the planning fallacy in action. You imagine a clean, smooth version of the future. You forget delays, distractions, and how long it's taken before. You think, this time will be different. But it usually isn't. It happens in work, school, even relationships. You underestimate costs, overestimate discipline, and leave no room for the mess of real life. Lesson: if you want to plan smarter, start with what actually happened last time, not what you hope will happen next. Chapter 10. Overconfidence. We all think we know more than we do. We're sure of our memories, predictions, and judgments. But research shows, over and over, that we're wrong more often than we realize. Even when we guess, we give ourselves too much credit. We believe success happened because we're smart, and failure because of bad luck. We rewrite history to protect our ego. This overconfidence gets even stronger when we feel certain, and especially dangerous when others believe us. Lesson: confidence is not accuracy. Feeling sure doesn't mean being right. The wiser choice is often to stay open and question yourself. Chapter 11. Hindsight Bias. Once you know how something ended, it's hard to imagine not knowing. That's hindsight bias, the feeling that, I knew it all along. This illusion makes the past look more predictable than it really was. It distorts your memory and builds fake confidence. You start to think the outcome was obvious, and forget how uncertain things felt at the time. That makes you less prepared for the next surprise. Lesson: just because something seems clear now doesn't mean it ever was. The past always feels more certain in hindsight. Chapter 12. Regression to the mean. Imagine a student scores way above average on a test. The next time they drop. Did they get worse? Not necessarily. They just returned to their average. We want to believe every up or down has a reason, but often it's just randomness. This is regression to the mean. Over time, extreme results balance out. But we try to explain it anyway, making up stories where none are needed. Lesson: not every rise or fall is caused by something. Sometimes things simply return to normal. Don't let the swing fool you. Chapter 13. Intuition versus expertise. We love the idea of trusting our gut. And sometimes it works, especially in areas with clear patterns and lots of practice, like chess or firefighting. But in complex fields with little feedback, like investing, leadership, or politics, gut feelings are often wrong. They feel right because they're fast, not because they're accurate. Real intuition is earned. It comes from years of doing something and learning from the results. Without that, intuition is just a guess dressed up as wisdom. Lesson: your gut isn't magic. Trust it only when experience has trained it to be wise. Final advice: the real gift of thinking. Your brain is fast and efficient, but that speed can lead to mistakes. You react, assume, and move on, often without thinking clearly. You're not flawed for thinking fast. We all do it. But once you understand how your mind works, you start to see your own patterns. You notice when you're rushing, when you're avoiding discomfort, or when fear is calling the shots. Knowing this doesn't make you perfect, but it makes you aware. And awareness is powerful. Awareness gives you space. And in that space, better choices happen. You won't always get it right, but thinking clearly, even for a moment, can change the outcome. If you remember one thing from this book, thinking fast is easy, but thinking slow is what helps you grow.